Hello everyone, this is Vishwas and welcome back to our YouTube channel Frontend Devs. In today's video, we'll discuss microfrontends by using single spa. Single spa is a JavaScript library for implementing the microservices in the browser. In browser or frontend, we refer those microservices as microfrontends. To understand the micro frontends, first let's understand implementing the old way of application, that is monolith architecture. In monolith architecture, your whole application is built as a one big piece. That means everything, your front end, your back end, database logic, and features is all packed into the single code base and it is deployed together. Meaning in monolith architecture, we have only single repository. And in that repository, we have all the code for front end, back end, database, as well as your features. And we also have only single CI/CD pipeline to deploy those changes to production. Imagine you are building a house, then your kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom are all in the one big room. And if you want to change anything, if you want to change the bathroom, then you might have to change the whole layout of your house. And that is what monolith architecture is. When you start building a new application, initially your application is small. In that case, going with monolith architecture would be a good option. We have a few advantages with that, like it is easy to start and build, then your application is simple to test and deploy, and everything is present in the single repository, so managing and understanding the things will be easy. But your application can keep growing. You need to add the multiple feature into your application, and in this case your application will keep going bigger and bigger. Now, going with the monolith architecture having multiple challenges. First thing, as your application goes bigger, it is harder to manage. Second, we have a single repository for managing everything. That means if you are making changes at one place, it could be a chances that your entire application could break. Meaning a small change can break the other part of your application. Third, as your application is going bigger, you need multiple team to manage those. You can take the example of Amazon. There we have a multiple workflows. We have a user management, we have authentication, product listing, cart, payment, user support, and many more workflows. And to manage all those workflow, we need different teams. And if you go with monolith architecture, then managing the coordination between the team will be difficult because one team could be ready with its feature, but second team could be continue working on it. In this case, managing the deployment, managing the regression, branching, conflicts, or testing will be very difficult. And in monolith architecture, we cannot easily scale your application. If you want to scale one part of the application, that is not possible. We need to scale the entire application at once, and that is bigger task. And the last point, we have to go with single technology. If you are going with some older technology, would be a Angular JS, we need to stick with it. We have an option only to migrate entire application to new technology. You cannot go with the new workflow with React, Angular, or Vue.js. And that is the restriction we have with monolith architecture. To avoid those drawbacks in the backend, we started using microservices. Microservice is an independent unit of code that is managed and deployed by the separate team. If you go with the Amazon, we can have the multiple backend microservices. It could be a service for your product, user service, we can have the card service, payment service, then we have order service, or we can have the notification service. All those services are managed by the independent unit, those are managed by the different team and deployed to production separately. In this case, we have the autonomy of the team. Team can decide their technology stack and their deployment time, as we have the separate repository and separate deployment for each service. But in the front end, we still using the same old approach, that is going with monolith architecture. And now here micro front end comes in picture. Micro front end is used basically divide your large application with multiple functionalities into smaller independent application. That means your large application is divided into multiple workflows, and those workflows are act as a separate application. We can have the separate repository for each application. Separate team will work on those applications. Team can decide their technology stack. We have a separate repository, separate CI/CD pipeline to deploy those changes to production. That way, we are dividing our large application into numerous multiple small independent units. Finally, all those applications we stitch together to form your big seamless application. If you go with the Amazon, we can have the different smaller micro frontends. We can have the different micro frontends for managing the authentication or user management. Then we have a micro front end for product search, then cart, managing the order summary, product details page, and payment. That way, we can divide our large application into multiple smaller micro front ends, and we can scale your application at border level. Hope you are clear with what is micro front end is. When we talk about the micro front ends, we have different options to implement it. The first option is we can go with the Webpack module federation. If you need more understanding around that topic, I already created the complete playlist on micro front end with Webpack 5 module federation, starting from very basic, that is what is micro front end, why we need it, then implementing the micro front end starting from zero, managing the different application including React, Vue, vanilla JavaScript. Then we move to the advanced concept like component or the micro front-end communication, managing the state in micro front-end by using different options, and deployment. If you're interested understanding the micro front-ends by using module federation Webpack 5, do check out that playlist. You can find the link in the video description. And today we will focus on second option, and that is implementing the micro front end by using single SPA. So without any further delay, let's deep dive into the video. If you go to official website of Single SPA, here you will see the current version is 6, and you have all the documentation available here. Single SPA is a JavaScript router for your front-end microservices. It basically brings multiple single-page applications, may be written in different JavaScript frameworks like React, Angular, Vue together to form a one big application. Single means one, and the SPA means single page application. It is the one single page application which contained multiple micro front ends, which is again single page applications. Interesting, right? So it is a container for smaller single page applications. Let me click on get started. The single SPA is a framework for bringing together multiple JavaScript micro front ends in the front end applications. And it supports framework like React, Angular JS, Angular, Ember, and many more JavaScript frameworks. It will deploy your micro frontends independently. You can write code using the new framework without rewriting the existing application. And we can also use the lazy loading of your code to improve your initial load time. On the official documentation, we have multiple demos and example available here. You can go through the architectural overview, and we have a very good community to understand the single spa. Without going into all the details, let me directly go to the CLI, and here we have a guide to start your application. Let me go to the installation and usage, and first we can install one of the popular package, and that is create single spa. If you want to install it globally, we can install through the npm or yarn, and we can have other options as well. We can go with the npm init or npx create single spa, depending on your choice, but it's good if you install that globally so that you can use it across multiple applications. Let me copy this line. For today's implementation, I created a complete new folder, that is map with single spa, and let me open command prompt here. I already have the single spa installed globally on my system, but when you installing first time, let's use the global command and install it. Once installation is done, you can move to the next command, and the command is now create single spa. Let me copy this command, and if you type the command, once you type that command, it will ask you to provide the directory for your project. Initially, we are creating the root project, so let me go with directory name as a root here. It could be a root or it could be a parent app. Anything is fine. When we are going with single spa, we have multiple options to create your app. First and most important, we need to create the single spa root config. That means our parent application. When we create the application by using root config, that application serves as a central application, and it is responsible for loading and managing all your other micro frontends. It could be a navigation, it could be a main container, or any micro frontend that we are creating. The root config application acts as the entry point for your micro frontend application. Then it will register all your micro frontends. It will handle the routing and decide which application or which micro frontend should be loaded based on the provided route. And here we can have some common logic or common utilities that is shared across all the application. Let me first create the root config, and then we will understand on other types of application. It could be application, it could be a parcel, or it could be the utility. But first let's add your root config. Let me press the enter. Then it will ask you to select the package manager. For now I'm going with the npm. Then it will ask whether you want to go with the TypeScript or not. For now, I'm going with the JavaScript. Then it will ask you to whether you want to use the single spa layout engine. I will go with yes, because it will help us to manage the routing and everything. If you go with no, then you need to set up your own layout for your application. We'll understand more around the layout engine when we deep dive into the code. After that, we need to provide the organization name, and you can go with any name, but it is important to manage multiple micro frontends. For now, let me go with the front-end devs here, and now it will create your root application. It will initialize your application. It will create the necessary package.json, webpack config file, provide the configuration for your Babel, Prettier, ESLint, and along with that, it will create few important files in your src folder. Now it is installing all the dependencies by its your own, but if it is failed, it is recommending that you can type the command by your own to install all the dependencies. Let's wait until this complete, and then we will move to the VS Code and we'll understand our root application. npm install is successful now, and it installed all the required dependencies for our root config. And now if you look at the folder, we have parent app is created, and we have all the initial code for our parent application. Let me go to the VS Code. I already opened that parent folder here, and now we will understand the important files. At root level, we have some important configuration file, including ESLint. We have git ignore, prettier ignore. We have a babel config, where we have the configuration for multiple preset as well as plugins. Plugins is used to do the individual task, and the preset is basically the set of your plugins. Then we have a package.json. Here we have all the dev dependencies starting from babel, then ESLint, we have a jest, and finally we have some dependencies related to Webpack. And in dependencies, we have a jest, we have system.js, spa, and single spa layout, because we have chosen the going with single spa layout at the time of configuration. And finally, we have a Webpack. In the Webpack, we have a single spa default as a helper, and which is used to basically dry up the registration process. Dry means don't repeat yourself. HTML Webpack plugin is used to copy the HTML file to the destination folder. And then we have some specific configuration related to single spa. Here we have the organization name that we have provided at the time of creating the root config, and here we have some root configuration. And finally, we are merging our single spa configuration with Webpack remaining configuration. After that, if you go to the src folder, we have three important files here. The first file will be the frontend devs -root -config.js. It is the special file, and it starts with the prefix as your organization name. And after that, we have root config.js. This is very important file, and it is responsible for registering all your micro frontends. Single spa providing multiple core APIs, and one of the API is register application. This is the core API in single spa, and it is used to register micro frontends application, so that the single spa know when to load, mount, or unmount your application based on the current URL. That means once your app is registered with single spa application, we have some important key APIs are: the first one will be bootstrap, the second one will be mount, and the third one will be unmount. The bootstrap API is used for initialization. It runs once when the application is about to mount for the first time. This method or this API is used to initialize the library global state, and it makes sure that everything will be ready to mount or start your application. Then second method or second API will be mount. The mount API will activate the application or mount it to the DOM of your root application, and it will run every time your app should shown. That means if you are changing the URL, suppose you go to some URL /abc, then your component is mounted, and now you are leaving from that URL, and again you visit that abc URL, then your component is mounted again. That means mount API will call every time when you visit that particular route or where your application is running. And this mount API will make sure to put your application onto the screen. Then third, we have unmount. The unmount is basically used to deactivate your application. That means if you go away from /abc URL, it will remove your application from the DOM, or it will unmount it. And its job is to clean up the DOM, clean up the timer, or any subscription available with your application. These are three important APIs that is used with single spa to make your micro frontends. Those three APIs are used from your child micro frontend applications. Then we have a start method. The start method is used to start your single spa life cycle. Once that is done, we have some important method from single spa layout, because we have decided to go with the single spa layout, and it is providing multiple methods to create that layout for us. Below, we need to create our routes. For that, we need to use the construct route. Then we need to define your application. For that, we need to use the construct application API, and we need to import that application here. And finally, we need to define your layout. For that, we need to use the construct layout method, and we need to pass the route and applications to it. We need to register all the application with your register application API. And once that is done, we will activate your layout engine as well as start your micro front-end applications or single spa application. Then we have a second important file, that is index.egs. This file contains all our HTML part, starting from the doc type HTML. Then we have a head section with multiple meta tags. And if you come down here, we have important part. In this section, we need to add all the shared dependencies, which is shared across multiple micro frontends or applications. Single spa is shared across all the application. We are adding it here. Similarly, if you are using React application or 2-3 React application, in that case, we can have the React or React DOM dependency that is used across multiple applications, and we can add those here. After that, we need to add your micro front-end application. It is basically acts as an import map, and you will add your application here as a key value pair. We will discuss more on this key value pair. The value will be a special JavaScript file that is basically exposed by your child application. And after that, we have last file, that is the micro front-end layout file. And this file is providing the layout for your application. Here we have a single spa route, and if you come below, we can define your minimal HTML in our root config, and we need to show the application based on the specified route. At default route, we are loading some welcome application. Same way, we need to import our application, and we can configure our route accordingly. Hope you are clear with initial root application or our parent application. And as a last step, now run our application. For that, I will go to my parent application, and we need to use the start command. If you go to the package.json, you will see we have multiple scripts here. And one of the script is start, which will start or serve our application on port number 9000. And it will take the environment, whether it is the local environment or not. For that, let me run the npm start, and which will start our application on port number 9000. It gives me some error, and it's saying that some module is not able to find. It could be due to missing dependencies, and we need to add the module AJV. Let me install that module. The module name will be AJV, and we will install that as a dev dependency. Let's wait until it's complete, and once it is done, our application should work as expected. Yeah, it is done, and now let me do the npm start again. It will serve our application on port number 9000, and yes, our application is successfully compiled, and now we will run our application on this particular URL. Let me copy that URL and go to our browser. In the new tab, I will open that URL now, and you will see we have a root config, and it will show you the welcome page. And on this welcome page, now we have next step, that is add shared dependency, create your next micro front-end application, and initial required guide for you to start with your first micro front-end. Here you might be wondering from where this welcome page is coming, and that is one of the micro front-end. If you go to our code base and look for our EJS file, here importing that welcome page. It is one of the CDN URL, and we are porting that micro frontend code from this URL. And this key we are using in our HTML file. On default route, we have the welcome page, and that's why you are seeing the welcome page on your default route of the root or the parent application. Now let's keep this application running and we will start adding our next application. Let me go to the folder and I will use one more command line here. We can also do that using the terminal of VS Code, but for now I'm doing it here, and I will create the second application. For that we need to use the command create single spa. First it will ask you the directory name for your new project, and we can go with React child app. First app we are creating in React, and for that we need to select the application type now. When we talk about the single spa, we have three different types of application here. The first one is the application, the second one is a parcel, and the third one is utility. And each is serving the different purpose. First, let's understand what is application. When we talk about the application, it is the standalone micro frontend or standalone application. We can use any framework or any JavaScript framework. It could be a React, Angular, or a Vue.js. It basically represents the full section or route of your application. That means if you are on your parent application and on /abc we want to use something, then we need to create the application, and on that abc route we can have the completely new application or new micro content. Example of application could be we can create the React based user management and Vue based product list on different pages of your application. Then second one is parcel. When we talk about the parcel, it is lightweight embedded component. It is used inside any other application on the page, and it do not have any separate route. And that is the main difference between application and parcel. It's small piece of functionality, like we can have the widget or a small component. Some example could be a chart widget, or we can have the notification page. And third type is utility. So utility is shared JavaScript module. It don't have any UI. It is non-visible or non-visual and used across multiple application or parcel. It is used to share some common logic or common service. When we talk about utility, we could be having the example of centralized authentication that could be used by Angular, React, or Vue micro content, and that we can keep at common level. It is simple JavaScript functions. Same way we can have math library or we can have the custom functions. In that case, it could be required in all the application, and we can keep that in utility as a separate micro content. When we talk about the use cases, the application is used as a whole page or application. When we talk about the parcel, it is a small widget or it is small feature, and it do not have any route associated or it do not have any routing. We need to use that widget on our existing application type. And finally, we have a utility which is used to share some common logic. It don't have any UI, and it is simple JavaScript function that is shared across multiple micro frontends. Hope you are clear with all the three types. What is application, what is parcel, and what is utility. To create the application or parcel, we will go with the same configuration, and based on your application or parcel, we need to use the different APIs to register it. For now, I'm going with the type as a application or parcel, and as a framework, I'm selecting React here. Then we will select the npm as a package manager, and I'm not using TypeScript for my project. For that, I will use no, and then it will ask you the module format. whether we want to go with the ESM or System.js. ESM stand for ECMAScript standard. We will go with the ESM because it is supported by all the browser, and then we need to provide the organization type, and we need to keep that organization name same across all your micro frontends, and it is basically used for namespacing. For that, let me use the front-end devs, and finally it will ask you the project name. Let me give the name of my project as a React MFE. That means React Micro Frontend. It will create the repository for us. It will add all the initial file, and same as the root config, it will do the npm install. Let's wait until it's complete, and then we will move to the VS Code and understand our first micro frontend application. Now npm install is successfully, and if you go to the Explorer, you will see new React child application is created here. Let me go to the VS Code, and in VS Code we will see new React child application. Let me expand it. At root level, we have multiple configuration file, including ESLint, we have git ignore, prettier ignore, babel, just config. Those are just similar as a root config or the parent application that we created. Then we have a package.json, and in package.json we have a name here. The name is the combination of your organization name. It is taking the namespace of that, and then we have the project name. React MAP is the project name that we have given. Then React child app is our directory name, and front-end devs is our organization name. Then we have some script to run or start our application and do the different task. Finally, we have the dev dependencies, and then we have a dependency. As this is a React project, we have dependency of React, React DOM, and we have single spa React. Then if you go to the Webpack config, you will see we have a single spa default configuration that we discussed in our root configuration as well. And then we have merge of your Webpack config file with your custom implementation. And when I go to the SRC folder, we have one important file, that is frontend devs-react.mfe.js. This file is starting with our organization name. Here we are importing React, React DOM, single spa React, and root element. Here we have a single spa method, and this is basically the helper library that makes it easier to integrate your React application into the single spa ecosystem. And this is returning us the lifecycle, and here we have three important methods that we discussed few minutes back. The first one is bootstrap, which is used to bootstrap our application. Then we have a mount, which is used to mount the component to the DOM, and then we have a unmount, which is used to unmount the application from the DOM, and it will clean up the side effect task. The mount and unmount method called when we switch between the routes as per the requirement. After that, if you go to the root component that we imported here, here we are just printing our application name, and we are printing the message that application is mounted. And after that, we have a root component test file. Hope you are clear with that. Now let's go to the package.json, and we'll see how exactly we need to run our application. For running our application, we have a npm start command. First, let me run the application with the npm start. It will basically do the webpack serve, and again we are getting the same error that we got for our root config application, that we need to install the AJV package. For that, let me just use the command npm install, save as a dev dependency, and AJV package. Yes, the package is installed successfully, and now if you do the npm start, hopefully it should run our application. It run our application, and application will be available on port number 8080. Let me open the browser and go to application, and let's open it. We are completely seeing the different UI. In our code, if I go to the root component, you will see just component is mounted message, but in our application, we are seeing the different content. We will understand more around this, but when we are working with single spa micro frontends, we have two options to run our application. The first one we can run with the npm start, and this is basically used when we are doing the integration with different applications. But we just need to run this application as a standalone application for now. And for that, we have a different command. If I go to the package.json, we have the start standalone command. Let me run this script. It will open the terminal, and now it is executing our script. Let's wait until it's complete. Yes, our application is successful now. If I go to this particular URL, localhost 8081, let me copy this URL, and if I open this in browser, you will see our application is working as expected. This is my organization name, and then we have the project name, and our application is mounted successfully. To see if our application is working fine, let me go to the root file, and I will just change this section to h1 here. Let's save the changes, and now if I go to the browser, we will see our message is in bold or h1 format, and this is how we can run our micro front-end application in standalone mode. Let me add some more content. Let me add some fragment, and we will add our code inside it. First, let me cut it from here, and we will add this h1. And after that, let me add some h3 tag, and we'll give description. This is micro front end with single spa. In bracket, I will give React end application. Let's save the changes. If you go to the browser, we will see our h3 gets added here. Let me remove this colon, which is making the line break. Now we will see we have the heading here, and below that we have some description. And now let's work on micro front-end integration. When we want to do the integration, we need to understand one important file. Let me go to the application that we run with the npm start, and it's showing that copy the URL to the micro front-end entry point from this particular URL. That means we have some URL. The URL will be this one. This is file that is exposed by our child micro front-end, and now we need to use this file in our parent application. If you compare this with module federation webpack 5, this is almost same file as remote entry.js. When I open this file, it will be having all the webpack code that we are exporting for outside world. Let me copy this file from here, but instead of using the port number 8080, we need to use the port from standalone application. Let me close all this. But just for your information, you can copy this file from here as well. After that, if you go to our running application, we can do the inspect element here. If you go to the network tab, and then if you refresh the application, you will see the same file is served here. The file is very simple. Initially, we have the path of our application, and then we have organization name, and then we have our application name. Let me copy this file, and now we need to use this file or this particular path in our parent application. For that, let me go to the parent application, and in parent application, we need changes in two important files. The first file is under src, and that is index.ejs. And here we need to add the import map for our application. Let me add that here now. First, let me use the comma at the end of existing line, and then we have a key value pair configuration here. We will add the key, but first we need to add that particular JavaScript file here. The file is added, and now we need to add the key here. key will be very simple. We just need to use the @sign. Then we have name of your organization, and after that we have name of our application. Something like this, @microfrontends, and then we have /react mfv. We can do that, or we can go to our child application, and then we have package.json file. Let me go to child application and just see the package.json file, and we have name here, and we need to use this name in our index.jsx. Let's save the changes. Now we are done with the import map configuration for our micro frontends, and we need changes in one more place, and that is our micro frontend layout. In our micro frontend layout.html file, we have a single spa router configuration, and here we need to add your application. For that, let me just copy paste this code, and we will add it above the existing welcome page, and we need to provide the name here, and the name will be same as that we are using in the import map configuration. Let me add that here. Before saving the changes, let's see if our parent application is still working. Yeah, it is working on port number 9000, and we have welcome application here. Let's save the changes, and if I go to the same application, you will see our React child micro frontend is available on your parent application, and that is how we can implement micro frontend in your single spa ecosystem. Very simple, easy, right? We have successfully imported our child micro frontend in our parent application. For now, we have two applications here. The first one is the React MFE, and then we have a welcome page as well. And we are showing that application on default router. For now, let me remove that welcome application, and now we will see only our child React application is available on our home page. Same way, we can also add the route if required. We just need to copy paste this, and we have route available here. So we can add the path as a setting here, and for that, let me add path equal to let me go with slash or react, right? For now, let's go with the React app. Let's save the changes, and now on parent application, if I type React app here, it should load our child application. Simple. Hope you are clear with how exactly the micro frontend is injected into our parent application. We just need changes at two places. The first thing, we need to understand our export file, right? This is the important file, and it will export all the configuration from your micro frontend. Then we have import map key, and same key we need to use in our routing path, and our application is working as expected. Same way, on home page we can have the different micro frontend. On /apc we can have the different micro frontend, which could be in Angular, React, or any other framework. After that, let's add some styling to our project. Adding the style is very simple. For that, let me go to my root component of my React child application, and here we will add a new CSS file. It could be style.css, and let me import that file in my root component. I will use import here, and it will be style.css. Instead of fragment, let me use div here so that we can add the styling on div element. Let's save the changes, and in the style.css we will add CSS on div element. First, let me go with the background color, and background color I can choose anything. It could be a aqua, or let me go with some pink color. Yes, let's save the changes, and now if you go to the browser, you will see the styling is applied on our element. It is in my parent application as well as on my standalone child application. Let me give some padding margin. Padding could be a 5 pixel, and will give color as a white to my text. It will be #FFF. Save the changes, and now we will see our tiling is applied as expected. You are seeing some border here, and that is the default border by browser. It is applied on body. Let me try to remove that as well, and we will use margin 0 in this case. Now, if you go to the browser, you will see the styling is applied as expected on your micro front end. If I go to the parent application, it is working fine. Also, if I go to the React app route, still our application is working as expected. And now on homepage, we could have the React application, and on a different URL, we can load the different application or different micro front end by using different frameworks. As a part of today's video, we only cover adding the React micro front end, and in upcoming videos we will see how exactly we can add the Vue and Angular framework into our single SPA ecosystem. Before closing this video, let's understand the advantages of using the single SPA or other micro frontend libraries. We have few important benefits when we go with the single SPA or any other micro frontend option, mainly module federation. The first one, it is the framework agnostic micro frontends. That means we can use any kind of framework here. Single SPA allow you to combine the apps built in multiple frameworks. It could be a React, Angular, and Vue.js. And when we are going with module federation, managing that will be very difficult. Generally, module federation is designed to use single technology stack. We can go with different frameworks, but we will require additional or complex setup. As compared to that, single SPA is very easy when we want to go with multiple frameworks. Then it will provide greater control over routing and lifecycle. That means you can decide on which route we need to load our micro front end, and it will provide the different lifecycle method like bootstrap, mount, and unmount. That way you can easily manage the routing and lifecycle for your micro front ends. And third is very simple configuration. If you go with package create single SPA, then creating the single SPA root config or micro frontend will be very simple. Hope you are clear with what is micro frontend, how we can use the single SPA to create the root config, and how exactly we can create the simple React micro frontend, and how we can do the integration between them. As this video is getting longer, we will stop here, and in next video we'll look into the integration of single SPA micro frontends by using Vue and Angular JavaScript frameworks. I will deploy today's implementation code to GitHub and share link in the video description. You can go through that implementation, try to implement this beautiful stuff by your own, and get more understanding around the single SPA ecosystem and micro frontend architectural pattern. Finally, thank you for watching. If you are enjoying my content, please do like, comment, subscribe, and share that with your friend so that it will reach to more people. Thank you for watching, and see you in next one. Till now, thank you. Bye.